That's right. Over the last 90 days, Maryland lawmakers have spent countless hours working on state and local issues. Many will return to their districts and work a second job during the interim. Others will continue their work as public servants for the entire year, but never receive a dime more for their services. That's because all Maryland lawmakers get a set salary, and that pay has recently come under scrutiny.
And I wouldn't have been able to do it, especially with I have a preschooler and I have another child on the way. I wouldn't have been able to do it unless my wife was the breadwinner.
Delegate Vaughn Stewart is talking about the pay for Maryland lawmakers, which generally works out to about $50,000 for the 90-day session. Problem is, many lawmakers say it's not really a part-time job. State legislators spend large amounts of time assisting constituents, studying state issues during the interim, and campaigning for re-election. And during the pandemic, lawmakers say the job was often 24/7.
Even though we're in session 90 days, a lot of people think that, we're in session and they think, well, that's not bad for 90 days of work. Well, it's 90 days of full-time plus work, and also all the time that we spend in our communities.
Finding outside work isn't always easy. Not every employer wants to hire someone who's been out for 3 months of the year. And conflicts of interest make some lawmakers have to assess the job that they take.
But honest to God, I work 7 days a week. My phone rings and I answer, and it doesn't matter that it's Christmas or New Year's.
Delegate Joseline Pena-Melnick says she chooses to do the position full-time because the need is there. But she, like Delegate Stewart, have a support system back home.
It gives me really a lot of gratification to be able to help someone who's losing their home, or someone who cannot find a doctor that accepts Medicaid or Medicare. I mean, people call us for a lot of different issues. But the current system places a particular burden on one group of people, single parents, who may only have the one income to rely upon, or who may have trouble finding adequate child care with such unusual hours.
And so that makes it challenging for people that want to throw themselves fully into this, because they basically have to have some sort of family situation, lucky family situation, that allows them to do this. And it limits the pool of people that can be legislators.
It is challenging to make this work, especially if you don't have a second job. And for people that have a second job, it's a real balancing act. It's very challenging to do another job along with this job, especially during this 90-day session.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, full-time assemblies are generally well paid and have large staffs, such as California and Pennsylvania. For part-time legislatures, such as West Virginia and New Mexico, the pay is quite low and staffs are small. There are also hybrid chambers, which spend about 2/3 of their full-time job as lawmakers. The income is higher than part-timers, but often not sufficient enough to survive without another source of income. Maryland falls into the hybrid category. While many state lawmakers think a change needs to be made, not everyone wants a full-time legislature.
I think the current processes work well. So the case has to be made for me to support a change in the process.
Having a political office is a career. I'm not sure that's the best thing. I think sometimes you lose focus, because then that's all you're working for, is to stay elected. If you can balance the two, you can bring that knowledge you have from your other job to a position in the state legislature to be able to pass laws that work for the working class people.
We generally don't work on Monday until Monday evening, until later in the session. And then the rest of the year, we're supposed to have another profession where we bring that expertise and knowledge to the legislature to help craft laws. So I resist any efforts to make it a full-time legislature. And consequently, I think the pay is adequate for what we do.
It also hasn't been easy to attract staff with the stipends given to lawmakers, although it has gotten easier after chamber leaders recently increased staff pay and incentives. Ultimately, it could be voters who decide if changes need to be made to the current system.
This is a full-time job for a lot of us. I'm not sure where the leadership in the state, including the governor, is on salaries. I know there's other states that do it differently, where they have part-time legislators and then they also have full-time legislatures. So that's a question for our state, and it's a question for the people of Maryland to change our constitution, because it was going to take that in order to change the way we do business here in the state of Maryland.
And a recent change to federal law has added some lawmakers some concerns. Stipends for Annapolis housing now must be claimed on federal taxes as income, creating an even tougher burden for some legislators. Delegate Mary Lehman says that newest ruling has forced her to cut back how many nights that she can stay in Annapolis during the session. Those funds, by the way, go directly to the lodging or hotel and not to the lawmakers.